The drama surrounding one of the most explosive weeks in MMA began not inside the Octagon, but inside a closed training room where whispers quickly turned into headlines. Khamzat Chimaev, already viewed as one of the most terrifying forces in the middleweight division, reportedly went toe-to-toe in a shocking sparring session with former light heavyweight champion, has now added fuel to an even bigger fire, because according to those who witnessed it, Chimaev didn't just survive. Against the naturally larger man, he dominated. Moments of the exchange and left coaches convinced that his ceiling stretches far beyond 185 pounds. Title-winning performance at UFC 3, fresh off his emphatic victory over Robert Whittaker. Confidence was already surging through his camp, but what unfolded during that sparring day elevated belief into certainty. Prochazka, a towering presence with unpredictable striking and raw physicality, tested Chimaev across grappling exchanges and live rounds. Size mattered. Strength mattered. Experience at 205 mattered. And yet, by the accounts shared afterward, Chimaev's intensity, pressure, and suffocating grappling flipped expectations on their head. For coach Ellen Asament, that was the defining moment. Watching Chimaev impose himself on a former champion from the division above changed the internal narrative from hopeful ambition to inevitable greatness. In that instant, the idea of becoming a world champion stopped being a dream and started feeling like destiny. The room saw it, the team felt it, and now the public is hearing about it. What makes this revelation even more significant is what it implies for the future. If Chimaev can neutralize a fighter like Prochazka in training, what does that mean for the reigning light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira? The conversation has shifted toward two-division dominance. Pereira, known for his devastating kickboxing pedigree and nuclear left hook, suddenly has a new shadow looming over his reign. Chimaev's style has always been built on suffocation. From the opening seconds of a fight, he closes distance, forces grappling exchanges, and drains opponents of space and hope. Against larger men, that style becomes even more terrifying because it reveals something deeper than skill. It reveals adaptability. If he can translate that aggression upward in weight without losing speed, the balance of power across divisions could shift dramatically. But this wasn't the only storyline shaking the MMA landscape. At UFC London, tension is building between undefeated contenders Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy. Both men are promising violence. Both are guaranteeing highlight finishes, and both understand that a victory here likely secures a title shot against featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski. Murphy's confidence surged after delivering one of the cleanest knockouts of the year, a spinning elbow that rewrote his narrative from decision-heavy technician to legitimate finisher. Evloev, however, remains a relentless grappling machine, undefeated and unbreakable. Their clash feels less like a contender bout and more like a final exam before championship glory. Meanwhile, Israel Adesanya is preparing for what he calls the biggest fight of his life, though not for the reasons most would assume. Facing rising contender Joe Pyfer, Adesanya frames the matchup as a personal test rather than a rivalry. For Pyfer, it is the opportunity of a lifetime, the kind that can catapult a career. For Adesanya, it is about proving that he still belongs at the summit. Years at the top can erode hunger. It is about evolution, about reminding himself and the world that the creative, dynamic striker who once ruled the division has not faded. Then there is Gable Steveson, the Olympic gold medalist openly targeting the UFC's elite heavyweights before even fully establishing himself in MMA. His ambition is staggering. He speaks of competing with Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane, and even Alex Pereira, as if the gap is already closing. Youth, explosiveness, and wrestling supremacy fuel his belief that time is on his side while others age. With talk of a potential showcase on a historic White House card, Steveson is attempting to skip the slow climb and leap straight into the spotlight. It is bold, it is risky, but combat sports reward those willing to gamble on greatness. Back in the middleweight division, analysts like Michael Bisping and Paul Felder are dissecting another pivotal matchup between Sean Strickland and Anthony Hernandez. Hernandez rides an 8-fight win streak, blending relentless cardio with increasingly dangerous finishing ability. Strickland, the former champion, remains a master of volume striking and psychological warfare. The stylistic clash is fascinating. Hernandez pressures and hunts take. Strickland jabs, teeps, and drags opponents into grinding battles. And hovering above it all is Chimaev's name, because Strickland has made it clear he wants that fight next. He understands the politics. He knows that a dominant win could force the UFC's hand. Elsewhere, Joaquin Buckley has publicly fired back at UFC President Dana White after feeling overlooked. Buckley, owner of one of the most viral knockouts in UFC history, reminded the world of his highlight reel credentials. His frustration underscores a recurring theme in MMA. Respect is fleeting, and relevance must be constantly reclaimed. Fighters compete not only against opponents, but against narratives that can elevate or erase them overnight. Yet all roads seem to circle back to Khamzat Chimaev. The sparring session with Jiri Prochazka has become symbolic. It represents the moment belief crystallized into ambition for something larger than one division. It suggests that the hunger driving Chimaev is not satisfied by one belt. one run, or one chapter. The idea of moving to 205 and confronting Alex Pereira is no longer fantasy. Matchmaking, it feels like a looming inevitability. If that fight materializes, it would pit Pereira's calculated destruction against Chimaev's relentless chaos. Precision versus pressure, and perhaps most compelling of all, champion versus invader. The stakes would transcend titles. It would be about proving whether dominance can travel upward or whether weight divisions exist for a reason. The MMA world thrives on moments like this, when rumors ignite possibilities and fighters speak ambitions into existence. From London's featherweight showdown to Adesanya's introspective comeback, from Stevenson's audacious leap toward heavyweight kings to Buckley demanding recognition, the sport feels like it is accelerating toward a new era. But at the center of that storm stands Chimaev, eyes locked, not just on defending his throne, but on conquering another. So now the question belongs to you. Is Khamzat Chimaev truly ready to storm the light heavyweight division and challenge Alex Pereira? Could his pressure and grappling dismantle one of the most feared strikers in the sport? Or would the power at 205 prove too much? And among all these rising contenders and brewing rivalries, which fight are you most excited to see unfold? Drop your predictions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the biggest MMA storylines shaking the fight world right now, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next breakdown. The future of the UFC is being written in real time, and you won't want to miss a second of it.